This is the Female Founder Show with host and entrepreneur Bridget Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN.
Hello and welcome to the Female Founder Show. Today's guest is Jamie Schmidt, the founder of Schmidt's Naturals. Jamie's also the co-founder of BFF, a brand that provides access and education in emerging tech and underrepresented groups. She's an investor and author of the book Supermaker, Crafting Business on Your Own Terms. Jamie is a two-time honoree in Goldman Sachs 100 Most Intriguing Entrepreneurs. She was on the Inc. magazine's Female Founders 100 list, and she was Ernst & Young's Pacific Northwest Entrepreneur of the Year. I'm so excited to talk to Jamie today about her exciting journey. So with that, Jamie, welcome to the Female Founder Show.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Now, I would love to start from the beginning. Talk to us about before you started your company and the inspiration behind starting Schmidt's Naturals.
Yeah, my founding roots probably aren't very traditional. I didn't, sit down one day and say, hey, I'm going to start a business and here's my whole business plan. I sort of just fell into it. I was living in Portland, Oregon at the time. It's the most creative city probably in the country. Tons of creators, makers, artists. And that was my way of fitting in, was just by making things, specifically body care products. I loved making lotions and soaps, and I just loved playing with essential oils. I was also pregnant at the time, so it just sort of made sense for my lifestyle. I was on a tight budget. We didn't have a huge family household income, and so making things just made sense. And then started taking my products to the farmers markets, and I got a pretty positive response from the community. I started selling. People really took interest. We're coming back, week after week for more products. And then I realized there is something here. There's a business potential in what I'm doing. And before I knew it, I had retailers approaching me at my booth, asking if they could sell my products in their stores. And then once I went in, I went all in and never looked back.
That's awesome. And then fast forward, I know you got into a ton of stores and you're working really hard and you got a call, right? And you weren't planning on this call, right? Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, I think you're talking about selling the company. It wasn't something that was ever in my thinking. I loved what I was doing. And for the first time, in my professional life, I felt, happy and fulfilled, and never really looked too far ahead. And honestly, I think that was part of what helped drive the business was, my resistance to look too far ahead and have an exit plan. And so I just enjoyed it, and I was making customers happy, making myself happy, aside from all the stress that comes with entrepreneurship.
Sure.
Yes, one day, I was approached by Goldman Sachs, who said that Unilever, the biggest CPG company in the world, was interested in acquiring the brand. And so my feelers, perked up, I guess. And I started thinking differently about the future of the business, right? And thinking, maybe there's something here. Maybe the business would, do well in the hands of a big, corporation like Unilever. But of course, lots of, thinking and planning and questions that went into those conversations. But once that started, we were getting interest from others, because generally how it happens with an acquisition, if you have a broker like Goldman, like we had, they will sort of shop the deal around and see if there's others who are interested. And so once Unilever was interested, we were getting interest from Procter & Gamble, L'Oreal, and some of the bigger companies that typically acquire brands, early stage companies. So entertained those conversations, and had my non-negotiables, and was really excited about the potential, and saw Unilever as a really strong strategic partner for my business.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it was very exciting, but also a little bit scary or nerve-wracking. Like you said, you were having fun and you were really enjoying it, and then to think about selling. And did you have a support system in place that you could go to for advice, or what was going on in your mind?
It was tough. A lot of emotions attached to it. The business had become a big part of my identity. I couldn't, really imagine a future without it. But of course, there, was the lure of a big, compensation that would go along with that, a nice package. But yeah, it was hard. I was really concerned about the future of the business, right? And there were so many things that made it special. It was a homegrown brand. I literally sold it in my kitchen. I had in-house manufacturing, and, it was scary to put it in the hands of, somebody that, didn't love it as deeply as I did. But I knew it was the right choice after a lot of conversations. And in terms of advisors, definitely our brokers were helpful. I didn't have a whole lot of colleagues or friends who had been through a similar process. But there are resources out there. There are communities you can connect to, and I'm pretty tapped into the female founder world, and so just started reading other people's stories and feeling really inspired and understanding that hey, this is the right move, and as scary as it is, it's good for the business, it's good for me. Yeah.
Now, if someone is watching right now and planning on selling one day, what are some of the steps they should be taking to be prepared?
Yeah. I think, even if you're not thinking about selling, I think it's a good idea just to sort of consider it as an option, someday. And with that said, maybe have an idea for what type of companies you would sell to, or, what timing that might look like, and how you could get ready in the event that was something that might interest you someday. I think one thing that I didn't do well was keep clean books. And because it started in my kitchen, it was such a homegrown brand in the beginning. I was mixing personal and business expenses. So those first few years were a little bit messy. We were able to clean it up with the right accountants and things, but it took extra work. We do get acquired, there's a whole diligence process that happens. And so everything should be as organized as possible. Another thing that was really important was making sure that I didn't have any long-term contracts that I was tied into. That was one thing that was really important to them was, what kind of supplier relationships did I have? Any agreements with manufacturers, things like that we would be locked into for too long. So when you are signing agreements, it's easy just to sign and not think twice. But really be sure you're digging into those terms and understanding what they look like, and negotiating where you can, for sure.
Great advice. Thank you. And now,
Oh.
since your exit, you've been giving back, which is great. Talk to us about your platform, Supermaker, and your investment fund, Color, if you would.
Yeah, I'd love to. So Collar was one of the first moves I made after selling Schmidt's Naturals. It's an investment fund started by my husband and I. So it's a home office. We don't have other investors. But our goal there was really to, of course, invest financially in businesses, but also to tap in, and provide the expertise and experience that we've gained hands-on. He was alongside me in building Schmidt's, and so we learned so much. We were eager to jump into other businesses and help where a lot of investors maybe don't have that, the actual experience of growing their own business. So we've been investing for the past, about 5 years now. And then you mentioned Supermaker, and that was a media company that we had started primarily during the pandemic to support businesses that were struggling to stay afloat during the hard times, and just providing resources in the network and community to help them do so. So just through articles we were publishing, making connections, featuring small businesses and creators sometimes.
Nice. Now, as an investor, is there something specific that you look for when investing in a company?
There's a lot of things. Sometimes it's hard to articulate. Other times it's very obvious. But we invest primarily in consumer products companies because that's where our expertise is. But we have deviated from that a little bit because we can. It's just the two of us. But I get really excited about a founder who's passionate about their business. You can hear it in the conversations. Um, I like the businesses that can kind of start small or niche and then expand into some, into the mass market. And, Schmitz is a great example of that. So I had started, catering to the natural consumer, people who wanted healthy products. But then as the business grew, I recognized there was an opportunity to compete in the mass market with, for any deodorant consumer. And so I like that idea where you can start small, but have the potential to grow it.
That's great. Now, there are some
So,
people watching that may be working or thinking about working with their spouse like you do and like I do. Um,
yeah.
what do you all do to make that work? Because I know the rewards and challenges that go along with that, but what do you guys do to make it work?
I think you said it perfectly. There are rewards and there are challenges, and I think that's what makes it so fun. I don't think there's a perfect recipe or formula to do it, but I think it's all about, boundaries, and listening to yourself. Like you can tell when you're getting, stressed or annoyed, take a little, um, but having your own thing, I think that took me a little time to understand too, is that like our lives are so intertwined in so many ways. We parent together, we live together, we run our businesses together. So it helps to have your own thing.
Yeah.
But we share a lot of the same hobbies too. And so it's special, but it's also good to. step away when you can. But I think it's just being honest and recognizing your own weaknesses is huge because in any relationship, you're dealing with, egos and things. And so just understanding, your strengths, your weaknesses, and respecting, those of your partners as well.
For sure. Couldn't agree more. Now, can you share with us, you mentioned having things to do on your own. Can you share with us what you do for yourself? You're a busy mom with so much going on in your professional life. Talk to us about what you do to take care of you.
Yeah, in recent years have really tapped into fitness. It's always been important to me, but it's hard as an entrepreneur to make time for it. So I have a personal trainer now, and that is really just a good way for me to focus on me and, of course, build a healthier body. Pickleball is a huge part of my life. My husband's as well, though. We started as play together, but we also have our own groups.
That's cool. I'm going to be playing pickleball for the first time on Saturday. So I'm excited. I'm a tennis player, so I kind of feel like I'm going to be okay, but I'm excited just to learn how to play.
I mean, you're starting with a good foundation. Yeah, enjoy. It's amazing. It's that sport has truly changed my life in a lot of ways. I've met a ton of friends that way. I'm out in the sun all day, which is fun. And so that's a big part of my life too. And then I like to read. I truly like downtime is spent just with a good book, and not an audio book, but an actual paper book.
Very nice. You can curl up with a book, not really a computer, right? Or I guess you could with the earphones, but it's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah.
Now, for those watching that might be thinking about starting a business, what advice would you have for them?
I mean, so much. I think the biggest thing is you have to truly love and believe in your idea. Because you're going to be challenged and tested all the time, by people around you, by customers, by, potential investors, by yourself. But if you really think what you're building is incredible and you support it, with your whole self, then you can power through anything. And so just, checking in, making sure it resonates. And if it doesn't, changing course is okay. Like allowing yourself to pivot it and, even step back, take a break, or, start something new.
Great advice. That's so important because you really have to be all in. You really have to believe in it, like you said, so much. So,
Oops.
Now, I would love to talk about your book, Supermaker, Crafting Business on Your Own Terms. What are some of the takeaways you'd like for your readers to take away from the book?
I think my goal in writing that was not to tell you how to build your business, but to sort of equip you with a general framework for, when you need a little bit of guidance, right? And just sharing my experiences and letting people know that things are going to happen, they're going to go wrong. And here's a general sense of what I learned through my experience and how it might apply it to you. I don't think there is a playbook for building a business. as many business books that exist, it's not relevant to everybody. And so I think it's just important to understand that your journey is yours alone and that, you are on your own timeline and you have to build in the way that makes sense for you.
Yeah, that's great. Now, your story is so inspiring and you've accomplished so much. What's next for you? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, it's fun. I'm in a position now where I have a lot of freedom, to explore and take my time. So I'm investing. That will continue. I'm playing a ton of pickleball, and I'm now investing in the pickleball space. So that's really fun to bring my hobbies and my business life together. I'm part owner of a pickleball team, a pro team. And so more there in that space. I think I really like that intersection of business and pickleball, and it is the fastest growing sport in America. So the more I can do, to introduce more players and to help brands that might want to, explore opportunities in that space too, that's exciting to me.
I love it. I love it. Can't wait to play pickleball. Now, thank you so much, Jamie, for your time today. I really appreciate it. I know your story and advice will be very, very helpful to our viewers, so we appreciate it.
Thank you.
This is the Female Founder Show with host and entrepreneur Bridget Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN. If you're a female founder and would like to help other female founders with your inspiring story, we would love to hear from you.